All right, so let's move on to Spider-Man Homecoming. So right up front, I want to say that I have enjoyed every Spider-Man film. Yes, Spider-Man 3, and yes, Amazing Spider-Man 2. So if that makes my credibility on Spider-Man opinions shit, I don't really care. I'll give you my opinion. As always, I love the emo shit with Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3. I think it's hilarious. I don't know why people hate that so much. It's very fucking Sam Raimi. And when I hear people hate on it, I'm like, do you not have a sense of humor? It's such a fucking funny sequence. I don't get the hatred for that scene because that's always what's brought up. Oh my god, the emo scene and him like dancing around and flirting, hilarious, such fun shit. I don't get the hate for it. And Amazing Spider-Man 2, yes, it plays out like a romantic comedy. With some Spidey action thrown in, but I like the romantic comedy. I like Emma Stone. I like Andrew Garfield. I like the dynamic. I like the chemistry. I like, the issues of trying to balance Spider-Man with a relationship, and it's a cool movie. Yeah, it has too many villains and whatnot, but overall, at the end of the day, it was a fun watch. So, hate it? I don't know. It's just people over-exaggerate their claims on their opinions on film. It's just like hate. There seems to just be love, hate, and meh. Like there's no in between those. There's like 3 options, and I'm just not that way. There are 7s, there are 8s, there are 9s. Like not everything is perfect, meh, and shit. So anyway, all right. So one complaint I've heard about this movie, because I personally think that this is the best incarnation of Spider-Man. I have read a decent amount of Spider-Man comics, and we finally have a teenage, true high school age, teenage Peter Parker. This is like a 15-year-old kid. I want to say the kid's actually only like 17. So he's super young. It's not like, they didn't hire some 20-something-year-old to try to play 15-year-old. No, he legit looks the age that he's supposed to look, and that alone is amazing. The way Tom Holland performed in this movie, the way he portrays Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because they kind of have dual roles there. They are a little different. He's perfect. He's perfectly suited for it, and he can do a lot of the moves in the movie too. He's like a fucking gymnast, dancer kind of thing. He can do flips and all sorts of shit. So he's funny. He's charismatic. He's got it all. He's the perfect cast, and that's what the MCU does so well. They get the right directors, they get the right writers, they get the right actors. They just really know how to put together the right ensemble to make the best film for what's necessary, and they just can't seem to fail, man. They really just can't. And that's fine. Fuck it. I hope this continues. I hope we get another 50 movies that are this good. I'm fine with it. Let the MCU go on for another couple decades. As long as we're getting good movies, they're fun, they connect like this, and why not? And why not? And this film it's a very basic movie. It really is. At its heart, it's a very simple movie. Because Spider-Man is such a simple spot in his life. Like, he goes off and he has this big thrilling adventure for like a minute in Civil War. And Tony grounds him. Like, almost figuratively. But he does kind of act like his father, so grounding him seems like an apt description. But he takes him back and he shows him what he kind of uses him and then throws him back into his normal life. Like, okay, go back to, your everyday teenage life. And it's like, dude, I just fought the Avengers. You really think I can just go back to my average life? You came to me. And yes, this is the storytelling. Of course, they had to inject Spider-Man somehow into Civil War as quick as they did because of the deal with Sony and how they needed to get a movie out so fast. But with that up against them, having to inject him into Civil War so late and having them make Homecoming so quickly then thereafter, it's an incredible feat what was pulled off here, because it's a fucking kick-ass movie with a great villain. Yet again, the MCU gets another amazing actor in Michael Keaton. I mean, if you want a bad guy, Michael Keaton's your guy. And this was one of the first MCU villains that really landed, because what they do so right here is that Peter is just an average, everyday, 15-year-old kid living in Queens. And he gets superpowers, yes, but at the end of the day, he really is just a kid. And he has a simple life. And, he has a couple friends, he has his aunt, and that's all he has in his whole world. And I'm so glad we didn't revisit some origin stories. We've seen it enough. So thank you to Marvel, thank you to Kevin Feige, thank you to all those guys for not reliving the same fucking thing of him getting bit by the spider, him waking up and having powers, all that. Thank God for Civil War having to put him in there like that so we don't have to go through the origins again. We know how it's done. I don't want to ever see Thomas Wayne shot in an alleyway again by some robber and the pearls breaking. Do we have to do the same fucking thing every single time? No, stop it. We've seen it like 3 times now. Same thing with Peter Parker. So thank you for not redoing his origin stories and just making him Spider-Man. And another complaint I've heard about this movie is Aunt May is too young and attractive. Marissa Tomei is the hottest woman that's ever lived, ever. And anytime she's casted in anything, I don't give a shit what was called for. And another thing is that Peter Parker is 15 years old. And I've read a decent amount of Spider-Man comics. Aunt May's age is just inflated too much. I'm sorry, it is. It is way too high. She should be in her 40s or her early 50s. That is how old she should be. She is the fucking sister-in-law of Peter's fucking parents. Like, she marries Ben, she becomes his aunt, and she would be young. She would be very young. She would be Marissa Tomei's age. So it makes sense of what age she is in this movie. She's too damn old. In the other, yes, she in the comics, she's older. I don't care. This makes more sense. And it's fucking Marissa Tomei. She's still, to me, the most beautiful woman on planet Earth. She is so hot in this. Okay, I'm not going to go off on one of those tangents, but she really is just perfect. The whole opening here with Vulture, with Michael Keaton's character, it's something that we can all relate to. It's the freaking, it's the guy getting screwed over by the bigwigs who come in and take over, and he looks up and he's like, the system's fucking rigged. Like, these guys make the mess and now they're getting paid to clean up the mess. And that guy yells out like it's all rigged or whatever. It's perfect, man. It's the perfect incentive. He's 8 years later. You can see he's, got a temper problem. He's being completely screwed. Like, he bought trucks. He really invested his money to clean up this. They hired him for this job. And here he comes in. And this is a total dick move. And this is back when, Tony's really just kind of so self-absorbed and whatnot still. And he kind of still is, let's be honest. But he gets fucked. Him and his crew, especially him, get fucked. He's going to go under unless he does something. And he takes some of that technology and he goes and he does what he thinks is right. And he's going to get his money one way or another. And so he makes weapons out of this wreckage that he finds and sells them on the black market. I get it, man. He just wants to, provide for his family. Do I condone his actions? No, I do not. Do I think that he's psychotic? Absolutely. But you can still understand where he's coming from. He's that everyday working man. And it's the perfect way to do it. Because as I said, Peter is just an average, everyday 15-year-old kid. And this guy is just an average, everyday fucking contractor who gets screwed over. And both of them happen to fall upon some powers that they're able to use, and one uses it for good and the other one uses it for bad. It's the perfect dynamic. And Keaton Vulture, he doesn't really see himself as the bad guy. He sees himself as someone who's just making ends meet. I mean, granted, they live in like a rich neighborhood and have this extremely elaborate house and whatnot, so I don't know if he needs to live that good. So maybe he could have went and got another job, but regardless, I still get it. And man, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but let's get it out of the way. the shock. I was shocked to find out he was Liz's father in this movie. Absolutely shocked. I did not expect that in the slightest. And of course, a part of that has to do with the fact that she's black. And you just wouldn't connect. It's a smart way to do it. She's a pretty light-skinned black girl, so being half white makes sense. And it was like, when he opened that door, not for a second did I think he was Dad. I thought he found out who Peter was, got there before him, and came to the door like, come on in, I got your girlfriend and her mom hostage in the room. Let's go have a chat. And until he walked in and the mom came out and was black and came up and kissed him, I was like, oh, like, motherfucker, that's her dad. And she comes out and Dad knows it. And the way he reacts to that, Tom Holland plays that perfectly. He cannot, he's as shocked as I was. He had the face, he could not break away from it, no matter what. He just kept kind of looking at him. She's trying to take pictures and he's like, and even when they're driving in the car, he's just like, can't stop staring at him. You know, he probably should. He's a 15-year-old kid. He's an idiot. He doesn't know any better. But that scene is amazing. It's so perfect. It's so well constructed. It's such a shocking moment. Genuine shocking moment from genuinely. Wow, that was an interesting fuck up. Okay, so back to towards the opening. So the film by Peter Parker, I was really, I don't know, I was taken aback by that in the theater. I remember a film by Peter Parker. And for a second, I was like, wait, isn't it John Watts? Like, did they get a guy that was actually named Peter Parker to get this? That would be a strange coincidence. But then it came up on the screen, he's filming himself, and I was like, oh, this is a really cute way to do this. And he's like filming his footage of Civil War on the airport fight, and he's having his interactions with Happy, which was great to see Happy in here. It was great to see Iron Man, because they really are building that father-son dynamic. And I think they're also building that scene, of course, which happens in Infinity War, that's gut-wrenching. But I also think it's a passing of the torch, because I would assume that Iron Man's probably gonna pass on in this next movie, and Spider-Man's gonna be resurrected, and we're gonna be passing the torch. Like, you know, we're giving it over to Spider-Man, we're giving it over to Black Panther, we're giving it over to Doctor Strange, we're giving it over to eventually the Eternals and Black Panther. I mean, she's getting or Black Widow. She seems to be getting a movie, and I don't know. So we'll see what all happens there, but it is a smart way to build it up, even if it was just for the Infinity War scene, to have the dad-son relationship that they had in this. It hits so hard, and because of this movie. Yeah, I feel like that you wouldn't have anywhere near as much impact. You couldn't just walk into Infinity War without having watched every film that came before it, and this is one of the major ones. Absolutely would have to watch this. And I love MJ in this movie. You just know it's her. You just know it's her the whole time. So that like surprise at the end, my friends call me MJ. I love her. I love her. She's such a snarky bitch. And it's great. Especially the way she plays it so cool. Her comedic timing in this is great. Like, what are you doing? You hiding something? Nah, I don't give a shit. Like, so funny. And then when she walks away in that last sequence, when they're at the table and she just longingly stares at him for a minute when he walks away, finally, after playing it so cool. All of her lines in this movie are fucking hilarious to me. Like, every time she speaks, you know, you guys are losers. And she's like, where are your friends? I don't have any friends. You know, or the next sequence, like, you guys actually come here? You know, it's a lame party, whatever. And they're like, you're here. And she's like, am I? Hilarious, man. They just gave her perfect lines. So I don't know if it's her or if it was just the lines, because she doesn't have a lot of screen time in this movie. We'll see more of her in Far From Home, which after watching this, again, this is the most I've ever liked it. I am dying to see Far From Home, especially with Jake Gyllenhaal in it, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. From Michael Keaton to Jake Gyllenhaal, which I don't even know if Mysterio's actually going to be a villain in this. I wish I wouldn't have watched the trailer, to be completely honest. But I only watched the teaser. I haven't seen anything else. I really don't think that they should play the Far From Home trailer before Endgame, though. That would be so confusing and stupid, and they should not have released the trailer at all. That's Sony's fucking fault. I think I've already addressed this on the channel, but since we're talking about Spider-Man, so dumb. Why the fuck did they do that? It would have been amazing if they kept it secret. Like, secret film coming out in June or July. June or July, doesn't matter. But secret film, we're keeping it under wraps what it is, and everyone would be like, oh shit, what is it? Is it Black Panther 2? Is it a Spider-Man 2? You know, maybe they'll resurrect, maybe it's an Iron Man 4, oh fuck, I don't know. And then at the end of Endgame, post-credit sequence, all the way after the credits, like, what is it? You're gonna get it revealed at the end of the thing, and boom, it comes up, Spider-Man's back, like, not a trailer, but like, Spider-Man will return in June, and everyone's, oh shit, it's a new Spider-Man movie. Amazing. Could you imagine how much the internet would have blown up? Like, Avengers Endgame's fucking amazing, and we got a Spider-Man movie. It would have been this incredible publicity. Stupid, because we all know Spider-Man's coming back. I mean, we all kind of knew it anyways, but that confirmation is dumb. All right. Moving on. All right. Suit in this movie is perfect. The look of the suit in this movie is the best Spider-Man suit. I know all the other suits look fairly similar, but the focusing eyes and the everything, amazing. It just looks visually cool, and I love all the Tony Stark upgrades, the little freaking Spidey drone, and all the different combinations of web slingers, and the jokes about like instant kill, and him turning the training wheels mode off, and a parachute in it, and all these cool upgrades and all. It's fucking cool, man. It really plays into the Tony Stark Avengers universe so well. And Tony just kind of, or Tony, Peter Parker running around, or Spider-Man running around the city, just kind of can't pay attention to schoolwork. He can't, you know, focus on anything. He's kind of letting his whole fucking life fall apart. And him trying to balance that out, he doesn't really even try. He's just Spider-Man in his head. And he's completely letting his teenage life fall apart around him because he doesn't care. He's waiting for that Avengers call. Any minute, Tony's going to call him. And, you know, so he's going around. He's trying to do things, but he can't find crime. He can't find it anywhere. And so he goes and he grabs someone's bike from this guy, and he's like, can't find the owner. And then he goes up and he's performing tricks for like hot dog vendors because he's got nothing else better to do. And he goes and stops this guy from breaking into this car, and they find out it is his own car. And Stan Lee's up there being the nosy neighbor, a little cameo there. And then the other cameo, the Captain America cameo, that happens a few times throughout the film. Really funny stuff. And one of the funniest end credit sequence as well with the patience stuff. Good stuff. The kid who plays Flash in this, I think it's good casting. It's fine, but the kid's a total pussy. Like, I would expect him to be much more intimidating as like a bully, but they never really get into any physical altercations of any sort. It more seems like as a shit talker that I feel like Peter could beat up even if he didn't have Spider-Man powers. I wasn't buying that he was a bully that people were genuinely afraid to, you know, come back at. Like, get the fuck, get out of here, you little wimp. And I like that they address that Peter doesn't have a place to swing. He's running through this thing, so he sees he's going to jump in, he's going to say hi to everyone at the party, and of course he abandons it to go run off. And he tries to swing, and he gets out into this open golf range, or whatever, golf course, and he looks up, and he goes to shoot, and he shoots, and there's just nothing. And it's like, oh, I gotta just run. And he just takes off running, and it's like, yes. In every Spider-Man movie I've ever seen, no matter where he jumps from, he always seems to have a place to shoot his webs and swing across. And it's like, no, there's gonna be places where there's nowhere to fucking swing. And I love that that's in this movie. That's such a perfect representation. Of reality in something so unrealistic. So Vulture comes in, grabs him, drops him, parachute can't open, he's in the water, he's probably gonna drown, and Iron Man's drone comes in to save the day and flies off, and he tells him to grow the fuck up. And then Vulture goes back, and the low rent Tom Hardy shows up, the dude from Upgrade and Prometheus and whatnot. Or is that, no, is he an Alien Covenant? Or is he, no, he's Prometheus. Yeah. I can't even think of what that guy's name is. He's amazing in Upgrade, though. That movie's fucking rad. What is his name? Can't think of it, but everybody thinks it's Tom Hardy whenever it comes on screen. Anyway, Vulture goes to shoot him, and he thinks he's using the anti-gravity gun, and ends up using this other gun that like disintegrates him, and he's just like, well, whatever. He just, you know, promotes somebody else. I thought that was pretty funny, and I thought that was very telling because he didn't actually want to kill him. I don't know what he wanted to do with him with the anti-gravity, maybe throw him up into the roof and knock him out or what, but he killed him, and then he didn't seem to have any regret. Maybe that was just the, you know, maybe he never killed anybody before, and he was just so far into it at this point that was kind of just the jumping off point. That was it for him. That was the last bit of any morality he had. Although he does show some later. We'll get to that. So training wheels program is deactivated, and Peter has to learn his suit, and he has his own Jarvis of sorts in there, and their interactions are great. Love seeing Donald Glover in here. I've been a Donald Glover fan ever since the College Humor, Derek comedy, whatever days. Bro Rape. If you ever get a chance, look up Bro Rape on YouTube right here. I thought that was one of the funniest videos, probably like a decade ago. And then they made that movie together. Oh fuck, I can't remember what it's called at the moment. I watched it. It was fun. The Secret Friend. Oh fuck, I can't remember. But yeah, Donald Glover. I mean, obviously now he's Lando Calrissian. For me, big Star Wars fan as I am, I thought he was fantastic as Lando. But knowing him from his origins, love seeing him here. Pretty funny in this movie. I feel like they could have used him for something bigger, to be honest. I almost feel like they threw him away as an actor. But he's funny. It's just he doesn't get anywhere near enough screen time. So that's kind of a shame. Because once he's used, you can't really use him again. The Spidey drone, I already talked about, is great. He goes in, he saves Liz and Flash and his buddy there in the Washington Monument, and that whole sequence is really great. Great action sequences, good comedy. Then he goes and he has the Long Island ferry scene where he gets completely split in half, and Iron Man has to come in and save the day. And that's when he takes his suit and tells him, like, you know, you never listen to me. And Tony's like, who the hell do you think called the FBI? And Peter's just like, oh shit. Uh-oh. You know, Tony really does pay attention to him. Like, throughout the movie, he's like, I thought you quit that like 5-6 weeks ago or whatever. And then another thing was like, I thought, you know, this and that. Like, he knows the information. It's Tony. He fucking never forgets anything. So Happy is relaying the information, and Tony is checking up on him. So Tony takes the suit, and then Peter just tries to get back to his life, and he goes and he's probably just, I don't know, he's probably just going to go back to being Peter Parker for a little while. And he goes and he asks Liz to homecoming, and I love the title. I love that, you know, it's essentially about homecoming dance, but in reality it's Spider-Man coming home to the MCU. So I thought it was a clever title. And yeah, then they have their confrontation in the car, and he tells them, like, I'm giving you one chance because you saved my daughter's life, you know, and I owe you that, which I thought was just a great moment. And Peter doesn't hesitate for a second. He runs right out the back door, which is totally messed up, totally screws Liz over, and I don't blame her for pretty much hating him after that. And then his buddy coming out and saving him, I thought was a great moment. Oh, the fucking scene. I laughed so hard in the theater when the teacher walks in on him. The teacher is the chick from Orange is the New Black, right? Yeah. She walks in and, what are you doing in here? And he's like, I'm watching porn. The way he delivers that line, so good. And yeah, it's the perfect line. And he goes over and he steals Flash's car, and they love it. This is more proof that Peter is a fucking teenager. He's never even driven a car. We're not dealing with, you know, an Avenger like Tony Stark or somebody who's this, knows every freaking, you know, everything about everything in the whole world. He's the master of everything. Like, this is a kid. He gets in a car, he doesn't even know how to drive the car. He doesn't even know how to turn on the fucking headlights. His friend has to go over, be the guy in the chair and tell him how to turn on the headlights of the car. And he wrecks that kid's Audi. Of course, the Audis just keep popping up. Although I think in the next movie, in Black Panther, they're all like Lexuses, which I thought was like, oh wow, they changed them over. They must have lost their deal with Audi. I don't know. And then, yeah, Tony, I keep wanting to call him Tony. Okay, he's not fucking Tony Parker from the San Antonio Spurs. Okay, Jason? It's Peter Parker and Tony Stark. Jesus, I keep combining the two. So then he goes and he confronts the Vulture, and the Vulture brings down a freaking building on his head by knocking out all the columns inside the building, making the building unstable and dropping it. It's a great sequence. The whole dialogue between them exchange there. And then he flies up, and I love that sequence of like Tony going in his mind being like, if you're nothing without the suit, then you're not, you know, worthy of it, or you're not Spider-Man. I can't remember exactly, I'm paraphrasing, but I love that line. I thought it hits very well, the emotional resonance there, and the way he pulls himself out and he pushes himself. He does like the push-up. It reminds me of the Batman Begins scene when he's like, you know, what do you do all those push-ups for if you can't lift one freaking log? And that's a great sequence. It reminds me of that. He pulls himself up out of there, goes off, and he doesn't have the super suit. He's, you know, if he gets on that plane and he falls, he's gonna fucking die. Or he's going to get really, really hurt. Gets up there. Vulture's trying to rob Tony Stark's plane. He's totally going to get away with it. Everything's going smashingly. And Peter has to go and wreck the plane, which is so dangerous. And let me tell you something. That jet engine that comes off that plane definitely killed somebody. It definitely fell right into the city and more than likely killed somebody. So good job. But I guess that's okay. Tony's so proud of him. He wrecks it. He even hits that thing at the little boardwalk there with all those little carnival rides. It looks like a carnival ride is happening. He hits that thing. I hope there wasn't people in there, because he definitely killed him. But that was so risky, man. He could have crashed that plane into the city. That could have been a 9/11 caused by Peter Parker. Can't you be a friendly Spiderhood neighborhood? Jesus Christ, Jason. Oh, man. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. All right. And then, yeah, he gets him, and Pete turns down the Avengers, and he thinks, like, it's all a big test, and Tony's like, yeah, totally. And I like how Tony tries to take credit for it. He's like, yeah, you know, I needed to take the suit away so that you would do the right thing, right? Like, I'm in the right here. I did the right thing, right? And then Pepper and Tony are just back together, I guess. It isn't explained. They were on a break, and now they're fine. Now they're good. Whatever, I guess. And Happy throws him a ring, and he goes to and propose to her right there in front of everybody? We don't get to see that? Is that where they get engaged? Because they are engaged in Infinity War to my memory. So I'm waking up tomorrow and I'm watching Infinity War. So I'm really, really curious. But yeah, no explanation of their separation. And even during that movie, he's separated with her, and he's around some hot chick, and he has his moments there, and you're like, Tony, don't do it. And then, yeah, Peter gets fucking caught by Aunt May here. What the fuck? And poop. Great stuff. So Aunt May will know by Far From Home. Now, she already knew in Infinity War, but I don't think we see Aunt May. No, I don't think we see her at all. And I'll be curious if we see her in Endgame. I highly doubt it, but you never know. No, I don't know. If Spider-Man comes back, I could definitely see Aunt May being there. Maybe she died too. I don't know. And then Toombs keeps Pete's identity a secret. Why? I don't know. Not sure why he keeps it a secret. That'd be interesting. I definitely think he'll make an appearance in the next movie. We'll see how big. Maybe he's the big villain. Maybe that'll be, and Mysterio's there to help. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, let's move on to Black Panther. This is such a fun fucking movie. Spider-Man Homecoming, such a blast. All right, moving on.